Welcome to Book Bingers, the podcast where two best friends talk about books, book boyfriends, book theories, book tropes, our favorite books.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about a new favorite.
I'm obsessed. We're talking about Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. Ooh, this episode
is basically us telling you why you should read it.
This is our influencing you on why you should read it with hopefully no...
We'll try to keep it spoiler free adjacent.
We'll try.
Yeah.
But really, this is us convincing you why you should read it and why it's our newest obsession.
Yeah, and why isn't this talked about more?
Why isn't this talked about? Why doesn't she have more followers?
I know.
It's been on my TBR for a hot minute.
Forever.
This is a great example as to why you should maybe go back to your TBR and not just forget about the things that you once wanted to read. I don't even know. One day I literally was like, I don't know what to read. I am in a hole. I'm in a funk. And I just went through and started to see what things I had said I had wanted to read. And I was like, all right. Literally, I was like, this one's cover is speaking to me.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the covers are amazing.
They're
Let
so
that
pretty.
be known. If we're judging books by the covers.
If you're watching, you can kind of see the bottom of them up there.
But Google it, because if we're judging books by covers, which, let's be honest, everybody is, this has got a great cover.
Absolutely.
It's stunning.
Honestly, there's no reason it should have sat on our
TBR.
TBR.
No reason that it shouldn't be more popular, because it's crack. This book is crack.
It is. And I know, people fall into that, they start with ACOTAR, or maybe they start with Throne of Glass. They end up there. They go to Fourth Wing, and then it's what do I read next?
Yeah,
right?
and I feel like there's so many of the same things recommended when people are like, "What do I read next?" It's Serpent in the Wings of Night, Witch Collector. It's a lot of the same things, but this one's never on the list. Which it's not the same. I feel like if you want ACOTAR vibes, truly, and you're you want to live in that same world, go to Quicksilver, because it's so much the same.
ACOTAR coded, I would say.
ACOTAR coded.
Yeah.
But if you want, to fall in love with a character, but you don't necessarily want it to be the exact same Shadow Daddy, Fated Mates, Tattoo Lab. You don't want it to be the exact same thing, but you want that same energy.
You want that energy, and you want romantasy still.
You want romantic. There are books that can survive without the romance and it still be a good story. That's not this.
No.
The romance.
You're here. You want the romance.
Pivotal plot.
Yeah,
okay, let's talk a little bit about what the book is about.
Yeah.
And the synopsis of it.
Yeah. Okay.
You're good at synopsises.
Thanks for saying that. I'm definitely not. I just read, what did I just read? I was just reading in a book, and one of the characters is an author.
Yeah.
And someone said okay, what is your book about? And he's like, I can write 80,000, 100,000 words in a book, and if you ask me for 5 sentences on what my book is about, I cannot.
Okay, fair. I'm the same. When someone's like, what's your book about that you're reading? I'm like, witches? I don't know.
So
let's talk about the world. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, so one thing I really liked about it comes with a map. It has a map.
It has
a map. I always like a map.
I do too.
And it's one of the more unique geographical maps.
Correct. But also very easy to understand.
Which I appreciate.
I really appreciate.
Because you have a circle, right?
Yes.
It's a circle, and in the middle, there's an island in the middle. So
Correct.
It looks kind of like an eyeball.
Boom.
And it's cut up into all
sections,
these
if
sections.
you will. Yeah.
And the names, easy. We got Fortos, Arboros, things that you're oh...
They sound like you've heard them before.
I've heard them before. Okay, it's going to make sense.
Absolutely.
And we have the Cur deal
in
the middle, which is she French? She lives in France, the author.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of French
sounding words.
And literally the island in the middle is translated as Heart Isle.
Yeah. Which is what it is.
It is the heart.
It is very important. So basically, the premise here is, as in with a lot of fantasies, there's the royalty, the castle, the royalty, and then there's the poor people. And it feels like there's really no one in between. Let's be honest. But this one's a little different because it's not. There's mortals, which I guess you could just say is normal humans, no powers.
You have the plain human, no power.
And then there's
What are they called?
The Kier? Is that right? Kier? Or am I mixing up my books? There's the people with abilities. With powers. Yeah, there's the people with abilities. They're not Fae. That's all I know is it's not Fae.
And how you would distinguish them is they all have different colored, like bright colored eyes.
Like unreal blue eyes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and like not normal.
In these other parts of the map, like they might have red eyes. They might have green eyes. We mean like green. But like not like...
The only people that have like brown eyes are humans. You got and that's power. Like a very distinct way to tell it. But our main character, our main female character, she has...
Gray
eyes. Like with little bits of blue. It's leaning more blue, where some people are like, wait, hold on. Are what? You...
Yeah.
And there's like a big rivalry. They each hate each other big time. Like to the point that they'll murder you.
Absolutely.
Like just like on sight.
Yes, absolutely. They murder these mortals like left and right, and it's no big thing.
Correct.
Because the mortals are suffering. Because aren't mortals always suffering?
Always, you know right? I mean? Like it's a very like class system, right? Absolutely. Like we're just trying to eat.
Yeah. And Diem's hair is also white.
Mm-hmm. So not natural.
The story is that she had an illness as a child, and she had to take a medication, and this was a result of this childhood illness. Yes. It sapped all the color from her.
And everyone in her town knows her because her mother is like the healer, if you will, and her dad was like this very famous, the best, like general
in the army.
And he's now retired. And so everyone like knows her and they just accept the story in her section of the circle.
Yeah.
They're like familiar with her. But outside of that, people are like, why your eyes look like that? Why you look like that?
Yeah. Because no one honestly, no one has gray eyes.
No one.
Like anywhere.
And this is like important, okay? So we're like stressing the importance of the eyes because you will find out that it wasn't an illness. And this is not spoiling it. You'll find out. No,
I mean, you assume very early on that there is a reason.
Listen,
for all of
it's a fantasy book for a reason, right?
You have the idea, maybe there's a little bit more to her that meets the eye.
Then we have, of course, our main male characters.
Yeah.
We have two. We have Luther,
who is not mortal.
Not mortal. Of course, he's royalty. He's our prince. And then we have Henry, who is our mortal best friend that as they've grown up and gotten older. Friends to lovers, right?
He's holding a candle for her. Absolutely.
He's I don't know if I want to make a comparison, do I? As to like who he reminds me of from another book series.
I mean,
do I say it?
That's exactly
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's giving Gale energy, right? And she is kind of giving Katniss energy, if I'm being super honest.
I don't hate it.
Luther is not PETA.
So
No. Luther is our magical being.
Yes, he's the prince.
He's our enemies. And he's our enemy.
Yeah, he's our enemy. He's the enemy. And Henry, I think that's a good, because...
It's a good comparison. I'm not saying that it goes the same way as Katniss and Gale went, but that's what it's giving. Like, friends that, like, then became, like, we're going to go on hunting together. Let's go swim at the pond together. You know,
and
like
Diem being the daughter of, like, this skilled warrior and the daughter of a healer, she can stab like the best of them.
Stabby. She's very trained.
She's very trained, and she's a really good healer.
Yes, so... At the beginning of the book, we find out that her mom she overhears this conversation between Luther, our royal being.
We don't know it's him at that time.
But it's Luther.
Okay.
And the mom. Spoiler, but also kind of not. And then and they're arguing. And after that, her mother goes missing. Just like, she gone.
Yeah.
She's gone.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to figure out where her mom is. It's been, like, time just continues to go on.
And her dad is very much like, tries a little bit to find her at first, and then it kind of peters out.
They just kind of like moves on.
Accepts that she's
gone. But she hasn't moved on. She's like, my mom wouldn't just She's like, leave.
But I saw this happen, and I saw this dude. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, and so she's like, I know that this guy, this other, like, royal being, like, something happened. And so her mission is to now, like, figure out where her mom is. So she desperately wants to get into, like, the royal palace.
Yeah.
Because her mom was the healer for the royal palace.
So, this book has a lot of great side characters.
It really does.
Like, a lot that you end up really caring about. I just love when that happens.
I love when that happens where you desperately like, please write a side story.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't mind a novella on boop, 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 boop.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So she ends up, Mara is another one of the healers. And she is the one who has kind of taken Diem under her wing.
Kind of another motherly figure.
Yeah, absolutely. And she has taken over going to the castle because we find out that the king is not well.
He's dying. Yeah.
He is not well. And so, but he needs a mortal healer to come see him because they have exhausted all magical options.
Correct. And like the lore, if you will, here is when the king does die, it doesn't just, like other royalty, it doesn't just pass down to his son. No, it passes down to the next strongest,
the person with the most
powerful
power
being in the whole land.
Yeah, power is king.
So keep that in mind.
Wink, wink. I wonder, who could it be?
Who could it be?
Anyway,
but everyone assumes it's going to be
Luther.
his son. Luther. Or no, his nephew. His nephew,
Luther.
Everyone assumes it's going to be him. He's the most powerful.
Like, and he is unmatched powerful.
Unmatched.
Like, he is, no one has come even close to
It's
him.
just like, this is the assumption. Meanwhile, in the human realm, they're getting angrier and angrier and angrier at what's happening. They're getting killed left and right. They're starving.
And one of the big things is that it is illegal for the mortals to have relationships with the descended.
Big forbidding.
The descended.
The descended. That's what they're called.
So they are called descended because their powers are descended from the old gods.
The old gods.
Okay,
yes,
we're there.
We
got there. We got there.
A big no. No interrelations happening.
And so what happens if they have a baby?
Killy, stabby,
gone.
Bye. Like dead.
Yeah.
Like you are dead zos.
So that's like that is a big point of contention, is they think that, like, they're diluting the magic by having these,
if you will,
relationships.
It's like Harry Potter purebloods versus, like, mudbloods and then, like, half-bloods.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
It's all that.
Way to simplify it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the Harry Potter, like, pureblood, half-blood, and, like, the half-bloods they shouldn't exist, basically, is what we've got. Mudbloods and we've got purebloods.
Exactly.
And no half-bloods should exist.
Exactly. That is all they want.
Big time.
So there's this, we find out, because we always find out, there's a rebellion.
Of course. What's a fantasy without a rebellion?
And they have called themselves the Guardians of the Everflame.
Yes. Huh? Hey? Sparkling Everflame?
Yeah. So we find out that some people in Diem's life are active members of the Guardians.
Yeah, it's really hard not to just spoil this. I feel like at some point we gotta just rip the Band-Aid off.
I know.
Right? Because it's not like it's like this big surprise twist.
No. So basically, she gets to a point where she finds out Henry is in the Guardians.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, you should be in the Guardians too. Like, this is like a big part of the book. He's like, hey, you should be in the Guardians too, because
truly,
you're
this is. I feel like it's like in the first third of the book.
It really,
so,
like this
you
isn't
find
like a big
this out
spoil, because it's like
early.
such an important part of the story. Is you find out she's basically recruited into the rebellion, and that they want her to be a spy to go to because now she has access to the castle and the palace because she's like a healer.
Yeah.
While she's there, though, she starts to see the other side of the story a little bit. That, like, it's not just like the descended are evil and we're good. She starts to see that this, it's
a little more nuanced.
It's a little more nuanced. That, like,
yes, there are some awful ones, but there are a lot of people who would like to integrate.
Yeah,
these
they're
societies.
like, listen, we don't like the way it is either. Like, we would love to, like, do more, because initially the descendants were supposed to be helping and protecting the humans, but it somewhere along the way things got changed, and power.
That's what happens.
But she starts to see that, like, so maybe the rebellion's not the only way to solve things. She starts to see that, like, their children, the descendants' children, are getting harmed, and it's not just the human children, and that it's a lot more gray area.
Yes, and I really like our meet cute. I will say of Diem and Luther is there's this point in, mind you, this is. Sure, it's a spoiler, but it is very early in the book. Okay,
early.
It's like early. You're gonna read it and be like, "Oh my god, yeah, that's so cute."
Like kicking and screaming.
So
cute.
there's I say so cute. There are literally children who are going to die.
Dying.
Okay? There was this like explosion of magic basically, and they need human healers to come and help. So one of the descendants comes, grabs Mara, grabs DM, grabs this other girl who I'm blanking on her name, whatever, she's a healer. They all go, and they all start triaging and working on the different people. And DM starts working on this girl who we find out her name is Lily.
Mm-hmm. She's Luther's sister.
She's Luther's sister. So she's the princess. At this point, we don't know that she's the princess. We just know that she's important.
Yeah.
And she has some wounds, and DM ends up like resetting her broken bone.
Yeah, and this is where we start to see glimpses of like
something's not
right with DM, because she's able to like dislocate, like put her shoulder back into place, or her arm,
she
like
resets like a broken bone in people in multiple times. Like people are asking her like, do you need help with that? Like Descended are asking her, do you need help?
And she's like, I've done this a million times.
No, it's done.
Like done. Like, and did it, and like, fix the girl up fine.
And so she's doing well.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, and now the person who is like asking her all these questions is this like grumpy man, right? Correct. And he seems like he's important, but we don't know. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden Lily starts to fade.
Yeah.
And it's one of those moments where like you flip him over and there's this mortal wound and she's like bleeding out. And so at that point you're like, oh shit. All of a sudden, DM, there's this glowing light.
Yeah.
And no one's going to address it. No one talks about it. But she's healed.
To be fair, not a ton of people are around her, because there's
it's chaos.
Like just really this other guy, this grumpy guy,
yeah,
which is Luther. And she herself is like, what the fuck
just happened? But because at this point, as a healer, like the last point that you want to happen is you missed something.
Yeah,
and so she's feeling all this guilt of like, oh God, we need to do whatever we can, and she's fully prepared to lose the patient.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden.
Healed.
Like, completely healed. Like, we're talking, like, not a scratch on her.
Yeah, like, everything's good to go. So, obviously, this is very early on. We start to see signs. And her whole life, she's had to take this, like, medicine that her mother has, like, forced upon her. But since it dulls her, like, senses, and she just decides she's done taking it once her mom's gone.
Yeah, she has this encounter shortly after she sees her mother disappear with this old woman.
I just am going to say it's giving witch vibes at that time.
Oh, absolutely.
At that time, it's like this old, like...
But you know whenever you get, like, an encounter in one of these fantasy books with, like, an old
especially
crone,
like an old hag.
Like a crone, you know it's going to be important.
And she's like, stop taking your medicine.
Stop taking it. She's basically, like, it feels like a
prophecy. Yeah.
And so she basically like traps her in her own mind.
Yeah.
And so she says, "Okay, I'm going to do it." Because at this point, what else does she have to lose? She needs to find her mother.
Correct.
So she's noticing things are changing with her as she's hearing a voice. She's starting to hear a voice.
Which they always told her that this medicine was important because she could start hearing voices and seeing things that aren't real.
Yeah.
And so we find out that, like, the reason everyone kept asking her if she needs help setting bones is because descendant bones are different.
We'll call them like steel.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not just, like, easy to put a bone in place, and humans should not be able to do it. It's hard for even descendants to do that. But she did it like it was herself. Like a twig, you know? So we're starting to see glimpses of...
And she definitely doesn't want to admit that...
These things are happening.
There's something. Because admitting that would
she's not
would human. Be like, who are her actual parents?
Correct. Because we know very from the first line that her dad is not her biological dad. She's been told that her real dad died, and that this man knew that he wasn't her father. He met her right after the mom
has raised her as his own.
Yes. But nobody else knows that. I think her brother does.
It's like a badly kept secret.
It's like a badly, like everybody knows, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's never been confirmed.
Like no one talks about it.
Correct.
And so she's never wanted to really pursue like who was her father.
She's like, he's dead. What's the point? But as these things start coming, and she's been raised to hate the descendant as all mortals have.
Yes.
So accepting that something's changing in her would be accepting that she might be who she hates.
That's a tough pill to swallow.
Correct. So, of course, there's, like, a little bit of a love triangle happening, because it's, like...
I'll be honest, longer than I wanted to.
Longer than I wanted, but as the reader, you're also very, you know which way it's going to go. It's
Absolutely.
not like a, twisty. Like, you're very
You just wanted to cut the cord.
You wanted to cut the cord faster, because it's like who she was versus who she's becoming. And she has a hard time letting go of that past self. But, so without giving too much away, basically this book is leading to the death of the king and finding out who is going to step in and fill the crown. Yeah, who's going to take the crown.
Yeah, and the thing is, when that crown is bestowed upon someone, it's literally like a lighted crown that is like above their head.
Illuminates over your head.
You can't hide it, so everyone can see it.
Correct.
And that becomes a little problematic.
Yes, which leads into the other books.
Yes.
Which, you know, as a reader, you obviously know which way this is going to go, but you don't. But you trust me.
But you don't.
You don't. Do you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, man, this girl's got some type of power.
Yeah. But we don't even.
You don't even know the half of it, though.
We don't.
And like when I tell you, this book moves fast, but not too fast. Like, there's the slow burn of the enemies to lovers. There's the slow burn of like seeing someone you thought you knew become someone else. There's the slow burn of realizing these worlds are much more nuanced than her point of view ever thought it could be. And you're discovering these amazing characters. The royal side has some fantastic side characters. Absolutely. They're giving Inner Circle to me.
Yes, absolutely.
It's giving the best friends, the snarky friends, the little sisters, the
It's giving found family.
It's giving found family. Let it be known that there's also a little bit of relationship, like a little bit of cutie young romance happening between her brother and Luther's sister. They go to the same school. He's like the only mortal that's allowed to go.
Yeah,
to
he's
the school.
super smart.
Super smart. But because his mom was the healer of the palace, he got a little bit. And so, like, everyone's like, cut this out right now. Like, this is not allowed. It's a little bit of forbidden Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, absolutely. And you feel for them because you know what the overall viewpoint on those type of relationships
are. From both sides.
Yeah.
Like, both sides are like, no,
absolutely.
no. Like, there's no future in this.
Yeah.
But they're, like, young and they're in high school. And there's that Romeo and Juliet thing happening that, like, it's just a side plot. But you're like, oh no, they're so cute around each other. Like you can tell that they like want more, but they're like, I don't know, 16 in my mind. Like I don't know how old they are. I will also say I do enjoy the fact that this isn't an 18-year-old girl.
No,
she's a little older. He's obviously very old, as all immortals are.
Always.
But as we go on to the other books, you're going to see a lot more of the whole world, which is so exciting.
Yes.
And you're going to start to see trials and balls.
So it almost feels like if we bring it back to Hunger Games.
Yeah.
What is it? It's the second one.
The Quarter Quell.
The Quarter Quell when we have the clock.
Yes.
And each segment
section
is different. So as you're passing into these different territories as you go around, it's like all of a sudden you'll go from a forest into a desert. Yep. You know, and so each of these... She does a really good job. The world is, you can really get lost in it. And I feel like the pacing is very good.
Yeah. And each like world or section has their own ruler.
Yes.
With their own crown.
They each have a crown, yeah.
And they all, though, have to pretty much agree on who is going to be the crown from the king. Like, it has to, like, they have the option to, whoever it's bestowed to, they have the option to, fight to the death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fight to the death over it. And that's going to play an important part moving forward. And that's like book 2 is all about like the crown. And then like book 3 is about like seeing the world. And book 4, the final book, comes out at the end of July. So this isn't one of those series where you're like, oh God, but how many years am I going to have to like invest into this? No, none. You're about to be able to gobble it all up.
Yeah, absolutely. You start now, you'll be ready for book 4. You know what I mean?
And like, I haven't been this obsessed with a book since Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
When I was like, I'm ready to get like a tattoo. Like, let's go. Like, it is so good. Mm-hmm. And it may sound very similar to a lot of other like romanticies, because how much can you really do with a romantasy? I don't know.
Sure, but I think the best ones pull from the same feeling that we love from other stories.
Correct, but they
make it their own.
Make it their own. And
like, okay, so people who like creatures.
Yeah.
They have a really cute creature
in
my mind.
They
do. A Gryvern.
Yes.
In this world.
Which I looked up and is like
cute.
It's really cute.
Yeah. So each of the territories has a Gryvern that serves the king. They're
which is
tied
like,
to...
if I remember correctly, it's like part dragon, part eagle, I want to say, and maybe part lion or something.
That sounds right. Yeah.
You know, a combo. In mythology, these creatures are all kind of like a mixture of things.
And so once the crown is in place, they have this kind of mental bond with the Gryvern.
Yeah.
And we see early on that Diem's not afraid of the Gryvern.
No, and the Gryvern, who will just gobble anyone up that it cares to, like a dragon would. Yep. Is like, like looking at Diem a little like differently.
It's giving me like Toothless.
Yes. Like,
there's something about you.
Yeah. I wonder what it is.
Yeah, I wonder. But there is a loyalty there, and there is a bond that, I don't know, there's something about
it's
when
like
you
very common to like a dragon and its rider, you know?
Yeah.
And it's this like, this like love.
It's giving Abraxos,
It's giving Abraxos. It's giving Hedwig. You know, it's giving anytime you see your main character have a connection to an animal.
So her name is Soray.
And again, the names are like still fantasy names, but they're like names that you can pronounce. You're not like,
it's so nice. Like Taryn, Teller.
Yes. And like Diem, for example. D-I-E-M. Like, it's like, it's exactly how it's spelled. It's exactly how you think. Henry.
You know, but we spell it with an I instead of a Y.
Mara, M-A-R-A.
So
you know what I mean? Like
Henri?
Stop! I'm dead.
Just saying.
And like Luther, you know, like they're like normal names.
Yeah. Alex.
But yes, so you will love the side characters. It will have you... There's still some, like, good banter. Some really good banter.
Absolutely.
I am a girl that really does need banter. I really do.
And it's one of those books that, you know, you're really going to get a solid foundation in the first book of a very small piece of the world. Mm-hmm. And then as you get into book 2 and 3, you start realizing how many other moving pieces there are.
When I tell you the romance is romancing... Like, and here's the thing that I know people are going to ask, spice level, and this is a prime example as to the spice it's not actually needed because the romance is so good. You don't get it in the first book. I don't even know if you get it in the second, but you start to get it in the third.
But you know,
you also
you didn't need it in the first
because the romance is so good and the tension is there and it's constantly
you're so
building.
invested that you know it's coming.
Yeah.
That you know the payoff to wait for it is going to be so worth it.
And not to compare it to ACOTAR, but it kind of reminds me of that. Like, I mean, it took forever before the end scene happened. You know what I mean? But, like, you didn't mind because you were still like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Exactly, because you know when it comes, it's going to be so worth it.
When you are such a good author that you can build tension to the point that I am kicking and screaming over a first kiss, you've done the thing. You are an amazing writer. If you can make a girl who loves spice and is convinced that I need spice in every book, not even realize that there isn't spice, like I was floored. That let it be said that I wouldn't consider this YA though.
No, it's not YA.
Just FYI. No. So this is still definitely like adult content.
Yep.
And there still is some inappropriate things that like they're talking about and that it's leading to. But I also wouldn't mind it if my teenage daughter read it, like on the other end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know. But it's not about a teenager. Like, this is not
But also, it's like, everything else around it is so good that you're not reading it just for the romance either.
No. Like, oh no, the plot is plotting. Like, the plot is the thing that kept me being like, this is so different.
Yeah.
This is so different. Like, I was like, ooh, like, it's got the familiar vibes, but also, like, where's this going? Like, I was like, what's going to happen? To the point that we're, like, waiting for the fourth book and I'm like, how
are we going to wrap it up?
Do we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Like, I generally do think that, especially when you've read fantasies and romance, you're like, oh, I know where this is going. Yeah. I don't know where this is going.
No, I don't. I don't know how. I don't know. How do we beat the big bad?
How do we beat the big? And there is a big bad.
There is a big bad.
Like the first book, you're just like, oh, you're not really thinking about the big. Like the big bad isn't even there yet.
You don't even know.
You don't even know. You're just like, how's this girl gonna get out of this sticky situation?
Correct.
You know what I mean? And like it just keeps building. And even the like rulers that we meet throughout the story, you're like, are they good or are they bad? Are they good or are they bad? Like you're just constantly like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know, because you're only reading from her point of view. So obviously you're like, I only know what she knows.
I don't know. Did you?
Yes.
So we're gonna get some POV.
Some other POVs
in the next book. And
correct.
God, do I love other POVs.
I do too. But I will say, it was really good, even just being from her POV.
Yeah.
She's not that annoying, insufferable character that is like constantly like miscommunication tropes. Like, ugh. No.
You understand where she's coming from.
You totally get where she's coming from. She very quickly realizes that things aren't always what they seem. It doesn't take like forever for her to see that there's other sides, and she's not insufferable except for in one category where you're like, hey, it might be time to let go of the past. I know you don't want to.
Yeah.
I know you want to like fix everything and you want everything to be great, but like that is not
sometimes
realistic.
Not everyone's gonna like you.
Correct. And like sometimes you get those girls that are like, I'm so tough, but then when it comes to like having to kill, they're like, I can't kill, and you're like, but you need to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to kill, girlfriend.
Yeah.
She gets there, and she gets there in a faster pace than I think that like I would. So
I would hope.
You know.
Yeah, you know.
It's so good, and I'm telling you, please give it a read. And just as like a little cherry on top, it's on Kindle Unlimited.
Ugh. Even better.
Even better. That being said, if you are a physical copy person, they're beautiful. And I don't know anything about the audio, so I can't tell you anything about it. But
I don't know.
No, nothing.
But she's an indie author.
She is. Please follow Penn Cole. She does not. I mean, it's a sad day when I have more followers than an author.
I know, she's
Go amazing. Follow her. She's incredible, and she responds, and she also, like, can I just say I'm a little jealous of the people that got the, like, media arcs in the other countries.
I know.
Because they were able to, like, set fire to the cover, and it would, like, burn away, and then, like, underneath it would be, like, the new books, and I was like, stop. If that's your PR, babe, you are doing it right.
The things I would do.
Like,
the things I would do to just read book 4.
Listen, I can't wait. Like, nobody bother me at the end of July.
No.
Because I can't
If we have plans, they're canceled. Okay?
Canceled.
This is how you're finding out.
Bye.
You will not see me.
So sorry.
Yeah.
But, like, truly, I can't influence you. And, like, I can't if we sound jumbled and if this is sounding chaotic, it's because we so desperately want you to read it, but we don't want to give away.
I don't want to give away too much, but I want
to give away enough that it entices you to read it.
Like I'm leaving like little pieces of like Gideon's cookie for you to come and nibble on.
Because for me, it kept getting better each book.
Absolutely.
And the first one was 10 out of 10, like 5 stars. So I was like, how does this keep getting better?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Go read it. And I don't give 5 stars lightly, and I certainly don't put book tattoos on my list lightly. So go read it.
I would consider this in my 6-star category.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
this has moved.
This has moved.
Because I read this mid-June at this point.
When I tell you it's in my top 4 or 5 series of all time, I'm not joking.
Where's Luther now on your book boyfriend?
Oh, he's high. He's high. Luther's high.
Does he bump off an ACOTAR person?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Well, honestly, yes, he does.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He does. But only because I don't know enough about Azrael to keep him. Like, someone's got to be Az.
Sacrificing.
Like, Reese, I think, will always and forever be number one. But I think it would go Reese, Cassian, Dorian, Luther for me.
Ooh! I know. All right, and then Hunt?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like my list is getting jumbled.
I know.
But he definitely is higher than Hunt for me.
I've seen people keep a list in their notes of their book boyfriends.
Oh my God. Like, I think it would change on what I've just recently.
And we'll go and edit and be like, I never thought that top 10 would change. In
Correct. And, like, of course, like, it's been a hot minute since I've read ACOTAR. I'm really looking forward to, like, ACOTAR. Ooh, Zayden's still out there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
like,
man.
I don't know. But, like, Luther's a man. Do you know what I mean? Like, he is
But part of me is, like,
man.
I kind of need to wait on Zayden's, like, final placement.
Correct. And that's the thing, too, is I have way more time with Luther.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, if I had to choose which one to be with, I would choose Luther because he's a man. You know what I mean? And it's like, he immediately...
tells me how he feels.
He immediately, like, is ready to
ride
risk
or die
the world for me. You know? And I'm not joking when I say...
Set the world on fire.
When I say he's ready to die for me, I'm not joking.
Correct.
Like... Correct. And I don't say that lightly. I'm telling you, he will do anything. Yeah. And, like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I want, you know what I mean? Like, I want this guy.
Yeah. I don't want to be questioning motivations.
No. But he's also not going to treat me like a delicate little flower either. He's
going to let me fight my own battles.
Uh-huh.
He's just going to be there and have my six.
Correct.
That's what I mean.
Correct. Yeah. Like, And, like... I just want to tell you guys so much more about him, but, like, I can't without spoiling it. So
what we're going to do is, once the fourth book is out...
This is your warning to read it now.
Read it now, because
come August.
Then we're going to do a full podcast going through the whole series. Spoiler laden.
So if you want to go through it with us, and you're like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because we will go through book by book, and we will spoil the shit out of it. And if you're like, yes, I had the same theory, all of that, like... Do it now.
Yeah.
Read it now.
Please. Download it immediately.
Sometimes I wonder, like, should we be doing the podcast where we're breaking down chapter by chapter on some of these books or not? I don't know. But, like, I'm so obsessed with this book. But, like...
I don't know. So, that's a good question, like, for our listeners. Is, like, is that something that you would want?
Like, would you want to do a read through with us on a book? Like, if we picked a book and we're like... Let's go through. We won't read ahead. We will read till this chapter. We have a week, and we will just talk about those. Like, is that something you want to do?
Maybe we'll put it on our stories, too, and see what people think.
Yeah, I'm curious because I've never done that before. I've never stopped at a chapter.
No.
No. But if I had to, I would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I was like, okay, I have to dissect these 8 chapters now and, like, really go through. I've never done that.
No, maybe I would actually highlight things.
My tabbies?
Yeah.
Would I break out some annotations?
Maybe that's how we pop that cherry.
Maybe. I don't know. I have a hard time, like, if I'm really into something, not reading.
I know. If we're like, oh, let's go through Mist and Fury, and you want me to stop?
Right? Me?
No. What? Well, but maybe. So,
but, like,
let us
maybe.
know.
Because, like, I could see doing it with, like, Fourth Ring or Iron Flame, where, like, the book hasn't come out yet, and we're like, ooh, is this leading to this? Yeah. But, like, it's hard to do if I already know the ending.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, true.
Have you seen, just side talk for a second, have you seen that, like, everyone is now saying that Elaine and Lucian are, like, she's confirmed that they're, like, gonna be together?
Where?
Because I saw something years ago that she said that Lucian she originally wanted with Nesta, but then she decided to have him be mated to Elaine. And I was like, that was so long ago, before she's even written Nesta's story.
Yeah, we know that he's mated to Elaine. We know that. We know that there's a mating bond.
Correct.
She's also been in multiple interviews saying that the mating bond does not have to be accepted.
And she has slipped multiple times and said that the next book is Az's book and that the next book is Elaine's book. And just because she has said Lucian's her favorite character doesn't mean he necessarily gets Elaine.
Unless this is the Devil Wears Prada, where you've gone and got me the newest Harry Potter manuscript.
Correct.
And you have it right here for me. And I can see that the chapters are Lucian and Elaine. No, I'm not going to believe it.
Okay, I'm glad that we're on the same page.
Yeah,
I was like,
okay.
I was like, y'all are taking some old-ass interview and pretending that it's new. And it's
I also saw someone say that she's not only mated to Lucian, but she's also mated to Tamlin. Get the fuck out of here.
What? Okay,
Get out.
Day we start getting mated to multiple people.
Get out.
The mating loses its, like, appeal. Let me just say, I will never tire of fated mates, though.
That's the best.
There's a lot of things I'm getting tired of, and Shadow Daddy is being one of them. But I will never get tired of fated mates. Never.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean...
Never, ever.
It's always gonna...
I never ever. And the more like rare they make it in the book that it happens, the more I love it.
Oh, it's like it's only happened once a century.
Yeah. Oh, that's been dead for 1,000 years. Yeah. Like, I love it. I love it. Also, if I were to write a fantasy and I wanted the guy to have a power, and I specifically was trying not to make it shadow,
sure.
What power would you give? If you're like, I need him to be a bad boy, but I don't want to go the typical shadow daddy route. This is the things that keep me up at night.
I mean, do you have something that you've settled on?
No, but like some things that come to mind are like fire, like that still would be associated with like a dark daddy, right? Like fire, lightning.
Well, then you have something cool like Kai in Powerless, where he can just absorb whoever's power is
love
around.
That. I am still very much of like, I would love an earth power where I could just be like, roots, strangle you, like that kind of stuff. Give me
it's giving Zodiac Academy.
It's giving Zodiac, like earth power. I love an underworld, like where they have power over death.
So I just like when they have multiple powers.
Me too. But like a death power, love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I am getting sick of just like, fade into darkness. Like,
yeah.
Like, okay, I get it. I get it. He's got shadows. I'm over it.
I need shadows and.
Correct.
Like, I need more.
Correct. I am feeling, I do love Mind Speak, but it is getting redundant, isn't it? A little bit, right? Like, yeah. Is just every book going to have Mind Speak now?
I mean, it's the new text messaging. Like that's how
I do love that. I love email.
But that's how you get
secret
conversations.
Yeah.
Into these books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's sending ravens anymore.
No one's sending ravens. Okay, are you watching House of the Dragon? No, we're getting way off.
We are watching House of the Dragon, but now 40 minutes later. We'll save this for another episode.
So sorry. We should just have an episode with just random thoughts that come into our head.
I mean, that's the last 10 minutes, so that's fine.
Feel free to cut it.
But you know what? I think we made it this whole way and not mention Corey, so we better bring up Corey.
I can't tell you how much I'm trying to get him to read this series.
Oh, he would love it.
He would love it.
I told John he would really like it too.
He's still in his Zodiac world, and right now he's having like some palate cleansers before he goes on to the next.
He's loving Dark Matter.
He's loving Dark Matter
by Blake Crouch. So if anyone's watching that show,
and he zoomed through, and he'll tell you multiple times.
Next
I read it in a day. The Couple Next Door. He also read Where's the Lie?
Yeah.
He read that with
Listen
me
for the Lie.
Listen for the Lie. So sorry. Where's the Lie is a different book.
Amy Tintera.
Yeah, Listen for the Lie, which is our book club book. But he doesn't want to get into another fantasy until he finishes Zodiac, but it's going to take him 5,000 years to finish Zodiac.
He might start one next year then. No, he's going to finish it and then
you know what's crazy is he's about to go on to the best book in Zodiac. Like his next book is the 7th one. And I was
Let's go.
I was like, take the break after the 7th.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to need the emotional
break
after the 7th. But anyways, hi Corey.
On that note, we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.